You ever wonder how a name like this is pronounced like this,
Saoirse,
or a name like this is pronounced like this?
Cuiva,
You're definitely not alone. Now, I'm by no means an expert, but I figured out a few pieces of the puzzle recently, and I'd like to share them with you. Due to the unique history of Ireland and the language, the number of second language learners is way more than actual native speakers, and this is of course reflected online, so you're way more likely to hear non-native speech than native speech. So that's why in this video, we're going to always refer back to native speech when we can, and preferably older recordings, since we should expect those speakers to have less English influence than the speakers today. So, let's get into it. In Irish, like in English, we have 5 vowels. They're A, E, I, O, and U. Now sometimes vowels in Irish are marked with an accent called a fada.
Fada.
This means long in Irish, so they're also called long vowels. These vowels have consistent, unchanging sounds regardless of their position in a word, so they're good to learn first. A fada sounds like aw, like in the English word law. Here's some example Irish words.
Lár, mála,
Urlár.
I fada sounds like e, like in the English word see. Here's some example Irish words.
B,
báistí,
Buin.
E fada sounds like a, like in the English word say. Here's some example Irish words.
éan, inné, béal,
O fada sounds like oh, like in the English word show. Here's some example Irish words.
ól,
Tone,
Murán.
And finally, U fada sounds like ooh, like the English word clue. And here's the Irish examples.
rúin,
Menu,
Cúis.
If we were to look inside our mouth as we make some of these sounds, we might see something like this.
Tá.
téad,
Bui,
Bó.
Coo,
If we look at the mouth parts all at once, we can see a pattern. E and I have the tongue bunched up towards the front of the mouth, and there's hardly any space. A, O, and U have a lot more space with the tongue down or back. This is the distinction between slender vowels, I and E, and broad vowels, A, O, and U. Now if we look at some random Irish words, another pattern emerges. These broad and slender vowels flank consonants and gives them a broad or slender quality. For example, the letter L in Relta is broad, whereas the letter L in Gaeilge is slender, where the broad consonant is produced with the tongue back or down, and the slender consonant is produced with the tongue forward, towards the front of the mouth. Let's hear some Irish words, which sound similar, but are distinguished by broad versus slender consonants.
dó, dó,
Bó. Bó.
tí, tí,
Tí. Tí.
Lay, 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 Ni, 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 Ni.
Let's listen to the word pairs again. We'll slow down the audio and we'll pay close attention to the slender versus broad quality of the first consonant of each word.
dó, dó,
Bó. Bó.
tí, T,
T, T,
lay, 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 knee, 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 knee.
So how do we actually make these sounds? Let's start with the broad consonants. If I were to make a neutral English B sound, I might make something like this. B, B, B. The Irish version is more broad, meaning the tongue goes further back or further down, creating more space, sounding something like bo, bo, like in the word bow.
bow, bow,
Let me try and make that sound change gradually. B, 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 bo, 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 bow.
bow, bow,
Let's try the same technique with L. L, 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 lay.
Lay, lay,
Let's try T. T, 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 T.
T, T,
And finally N. N, 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 N.
Nui, nui.
Now let's move on to the slender consonants. To produce these, remember slender means that the consonant is surrounded by slender vowels, either E or I. And we also remember to make those vowel sounds, the tongue is forward or up with not much space in the mouth. The area of the mouth, which is up and forward, is called the palate. So slenderization is also called palatalization. We actually have some slender approximants in my accent in English. Listen to the following words: beauty, pew, duty, tune, argue, cure, few, million, music, minion. What's common with all these sounds is there's a slight y sound, like the Y in yes. In the following examples, I'll exaggerate this so we can get a feel for it. Let's try the same exercise we did earlier, except rather than making the sound more broad, we'll push the tongue forward and up towards the hard palate, making it more slender. Let's start with B. B, 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 pew.
Pew, pew.
Now let's try L. L, 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 yab.
Yabba, yabba.
Now let's try T. T, 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 tach.
Tach, tach.
Now finally N. N, 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 near.
Near, near.
In Irish, the slender consonant sounds can be actually quite subtle compared to my exaggerated attempts. However, when the consonants are strong, usually shown by having double adjacent consonants in a word, you can hear them much stronger. Let's hear some of those examples.
call, call,
gefoul, gefoul,
meal, meal, kin, kin,
crin, crin,
inye, inye, lane, lane,
pin, pin.
Now, I had planned to go over some more things, but getting to this point was quite a bit of work. So I'm going to stop here and save the rest for another video. Bye.